The music deserved to get its commercial recognition. I think if it hadn't ever had that, I don't think it would be the scene we've seen it evolve into today.
The kids down south in London thought they were hip and, you know, and had it all, but they had nothing compared with what was happening up, past Birmingham. The record companies had records out and had some success with Northern Soul beforehand, but no one had taken it seriously. And I thought, this is a real trend. This isn't just a one-off hit record. Let's treat it seriously, give it its own label, give it some respect. And we could have a good moneymaker here.
It started to get very silly. We had virtually every record company re-recording songs and trying all kinds of new angles. And there were even bizarre things like Police Story by Pat Williams, Hawaii 5-0, The Ventures being played, theme from Joe 90. When it got to that stage, that was enough for me.
Just lately I've been looking at the charts and I've noticed there's been a big revival of good dancing records out, and here's one of the best of them from Wayne Gibson, his revival of the Rolling Stone classic, Under My Thumb.
A pop singer singing a pop song, it's not Northern Soul. I heard it live at one club somewhere, I can't remember, I don't think it was the Casino. And the reaction on the floor was just so good, and it sounded so good in the setting of a Northern Soul club. I instantly said, yeah, this is a hit.
Oh girl, who pushed me around, it's down to me.
A lot of people were frightened that it, of an invasion if it got on the TV and things, and that did happen a little bit actually. That's why I sort of finished going to the Casino, because of the publicity.
Ain't that the truth now, babe?
And it did change it a bit. It took away that sort of specialness away, really.
Northern Soul was dying, and jazz funk was becoming very popular. People were getting a little older.
Well, this was the place. This was the Wigan Casino, the site itself. The council was always thinking of extending the Civic Centre, which is just next to us as well. But then when we got the letter saying, well, that's going to be it's going to happen in 1980, it was just a thing of disbelief, and nobody believed us when we said the place was actually going to have to shut. It came on Granada News saying that there was a fire at Wigan Casino, so we shot round, as did hundreds of other people, and watched the fire engines coming, but they couldn't move this grand piano. And it was like the finale, the bit that was laughing at you really, that it was just there saying, well, this was Wigan Casino, it was about music, it was about dancing.
They're still looking for that one more time, that one more atmosphere, that one more record.
It's all right. Everybody's gonna say that it's all right. Yeah.
Fantastic. That's just scary.
Yeah, baby, it's out of sight. Out on the floor each night, I'm really moving.
It doesn't matter if the rest of the world doesn't accept it, because this is a group of people that know what they want, and they're going to do it regardless to whether you like it or not.
They're still as agile, and they're still as fluent, and they're still as knowledgeable as they were all those years ago.
1981, Northern Soul unofficially died when Wigan closed. A lot of people who were part of the Northern Soul movement in the 70s moved on to more contemporary musical styles.
The whole Northern Soul scene kind of went quiet for a long time, and I think that was partly because of the publicity that was created by the records that we and other labels afterwards put out.
The DJs had disappeared. We'd moved on to pastures new. The promoters who were around in the 70s had also disappeared, so it was left to the real collectors to discover records, play the records, and organise the events.
I used to sit on the bus going to various venues and thinking, wouldn't that be fantastic to have a room full of soul music and not know what records you own and not know exactly what they all sounded like. And very quickly I developed a craving to own American soul music from the 60s and 70s, own as many as possible, own them all if at all possible, and what's more, own them on the original American record labels that they came out on.
The way that the records as well were distributed, they really were small labels. Like Eddie Parker, I'm Gone was a Detroit record. It's a massive record on the northern scene, but that wouldn't have been distributed in wider than probably a 10-mile radius of Detroit. In a part of Detroit, it wouldn't even have made, people on the other side of Detroit would never have heard that record. Motown took it onto a bigger scale, but this was a real cottage industry. Willie T records pressed in New Orleans would be 500 sold in 5 shops, and that would be the end of it. So it's no wonder they're so collectible.
We're at the level of having to dig very, very deep indeed to find these records. They really aren't on the surface at all. We're at the level of trying to find some singer's brother in the hope that he may have copies, or do a deal with some dealer that hasn't been found, or find a producer that no one's ever spoke to and said, hey, you got any records left in your attic that you used to make? It's pretty very much a detective job.
The best records do tend to be the most elusive, and the rare records that weren't hits, that were rare because they weren't hits, do tend to be great records. Don't ask me why.
I try and specialise in rare soul, so maybe there's a few thousand I don't have, but not too many, I don't think, not too many.
There's too much concern with money. I'm not bothered with money. Money's to pay for you getting in at night and enjoying yourself. If they want to make a money-making scheme out of their free time, let them. Money-making's from Monday to Friday.
The collectors have almost had their nose put out of joint there, because they're sort of still trying to discover new songs. And why not? I mean, we need that. I mean, it's a great secret society that's kept alive for all these years. But in reality, the masses want that the hit playlist of Wigan.
If you concern yourself overly about what piece of paper's on the middle, you can spend all your time watching it spin round rather than listening to what you've bought it for.
Oh, everybody thought I was crazy, I think. People I work with said, you know, what are you doing? I think I took Thursday and Friday off 1 week. So I said, are you going away? So now I'm going down to Wigan to get the sign off the casino club. What? Why? You know, you couldn't even begin to explain it to them. You know, they just wouldn't understand. It signified a time in my life, a particularly happy time in my life, where I discovered, for me, the greatest music and the greatest atmosphere, the greatest scene, certainly the friendliest scene. You know, you could walk up to complete strangers and ask them about records. Nobody looked twice at you.